I caught Smile right at the beginning of the countdown. Curse this film for coming out one day before my countdown began, forcing me to shift all kinds of things around to make it fit. Still, despite all the work I had to do at the last minute, it's a rock-solid horror film. So let's talk about why it made the countdown. This is M.L. Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Counting down the best in horror films released from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. According to me, M.L. Miller. Here we go. Number 9. Smile is in theaters now. It was directed and written by Parker Finn. After a patient kills herself in front of her at a mental health clinic, Dr. Rose Cotter, played by Sosie Bacon, finds herself afflicted with the same curse the patient claimed she was experiencing, causing the doctor to see people staring at her and smiling unusual smiles in her direction. As her symptoms intensify, Rose tries to keep her sanity while trying to survive the curse, which has been passed down from victim to witness for ages. Writing out that description proved to be pretty hard for me to do, not because Smile is some kind of ambiguous or complex film, but because it sounds kind of lame when you describe someone going nuts simply because they see someone smiling at them. But that's exactly what happens in Smile, a curse film not unlike The Ring, with heavy helpings of It Follows. The way this movie brings the Smile curse to life is thrilling all the way through. This is mainly due to some clever camera trickery from director Parker Finn and an amazing soundtrack using all kinds of warped and unusual instruments, making Smile feel like you, along with Rose, are slowly going insane from beginning to end. Now, as I said, this isn't a relatively new concept. While It Follows had the same concept of passing a curse from one person to the next, that film dealt with themes of sexually transmitted diseases, whereas Smile takes the same concept and applies it to PTSD. Smile basically is a metaphor for how witnessing a tragic event scars us, and then, as every good horror movie should do, takes it to an extreme and terrifying level. In that sense, it's very convincing in its argument that witnessing something terrible has a horrifying effect on one's psyche. Sosie Bacon is extremely strong in the lead. Her mousy and fragile demeanor makes her seem constantly on edge, as she seems to be on the brink of a breakdown and professional burnout, working tirelessly 6 days a week at her clinic. Rose is also plagued by guilt from her childhood, having been forced to take care of her drug-addicted mother. She's already unstable. This curse was the tipping point for her, and Bacon and director Finn do a great job of making her breakdown believable most of the way. Now, there's always that step where stressed out shifts to feces smearing crazy, and that leap can be difficult to pull off. But for the most part, through hallucinations, nightmares, added pressure from her distracted husband, played by The Boys' Jesse T. Usher, her oblivious sister, played by Gillian Zinser, and one of the most twisted child birthday parties you will ever see, and of course, the smiling monstrosities following her, Rose's descent into madness is made absolutely believable. Smile is gory as hell, from the initial meeting of the first Smile victim, who carves a smile into her face, to the bloody rampages of those who previously had the curse. A lot of the red stuff is spilled to make this movie. On top of that, there is some truly twisted imagery, including the Smile demon himself, played by Marty Metalis, which, though reminiscent of Javier Botet's lanky attic monster from Wreck, proves to be quite distinct due to some forced angle camera work and a great combination of CG and practical effects. Smile also does a lot to subtly unnerve you with upside-down camera work, the aforementioned odd musical score, and the impossible tesseract effect that takes place in the last act, where the action happens in an expansive home, though it looks like a small ramshackle cabin from the outside. All of these elements put together makes for one of the most potent combinations for an effective horror movie. Sure, we've seen this kind of curse before, but Parker Finn and Sosie Bacon put all of these elements together masterfully. It's a marvelous popcorn horror movie with tons of potential for sequelization. A decision I wouldn't be wholeheartedly against, since many questions are left unanswered by the end. Still, a sequel will have a tough time bringing together all of these elements to reach the level of horror that Smile achieves. Another curse of sorts is dealt with in Broadcast Signal Intrusion, which delves into the power of memes, creepypastas, and underground radio and video imagery. It's a truly unique mystery with some horrifying sequences. Broadcast Signal Intrusion was released on October 22nd, 2021. It's streaming on Shudder from Dark Sky Films. It's directed by Jacob Gentry and written by Phil Dinkwater and Tim Woodall. A grieving widow named James, played by Glee's Harry Shum Jr., becomes fascinated with a series of broadcast interruptions where someone has hacked television broadcasts and were never caught. When James thinks there's a connection between the intrusions and a person going missing a day before, he begins a dark descent into madness and obsession, trying to figure out who made the videos depicting a masked person screaming incoherently and how they are connected to the missing persons, one of which might be James's late wife. Being a frequent rabbit holer of YouTube conspiracy videos and a Chicago resident, I'm very familiar with the Max Headroom video interruptions this film is based upon. A quick search on YouTube, and you'll find various theories about who made the signal interruptions and how they did it. Unsolved mysteries are intriguing, so it makes for great fodder to build a thriller around. Broadcast Signal Intrusion also borrows from the I Feel Fantastic videos, where an android sings and moves strangely while singing in a computerized voice. Mixing these two online creepy videos and adding maybe a skosh of the absolutely creepy Shay St. John hand thing video, which has a person with a strange skin mask talking to the camera, and a pinch of the eye-slicing scene from Un Chien Andalou, and you've got one hell of a scary base to sprout some creepy scenes from. And while there are only 3 of these videos shown in the film, the fact that James is dissecting every frame of the films in a very rudimentary way, since this film is set in Chicago in 1999, it litters these strange and disturbing images throughout and makes the whole damn thing pretty creepy. The mask used in Broadcast Signal Intrusion is truly unsettling, as are its strange, robotic, and stilted movements. Just considering the effort put into those short snippets of oddity are enough to recommend this movie on its own. But Broadcast Signal Intrusion itself is a really dark and disturbing little descent into madness, reminiscent of Hardcore with George C. Scott and the underappreciated 8mm, where an investigator gets in over his head in a dark and perverse world that leaves him forever changed. Much like George C. Scott and Nick Cage in those films, Harry Shum Jr.'s James will stop at nothing to uncover the truth. But the truth is far more twisted than he expects. Shum does a great job of making his character sympathetic, and the film does a great job, for the most part, making it seem like he's taking a logical path with a logical mind. That is, until Shum's James begins seeing things that might not be there, and starts doing things that begin to make him just as twisted as the people he's looking for. At its heart, Broadcast Signal Intrusion is a mystery, but the mystery may not actually exist. James is searching for some kind of answer to a question that may not have an answer. He wants to give meaning to the common, eternal question about life and death that is the heart of Broadcast Signal Intrusion, and it makes for an easy quandary to latch onto. Needless to say, I was enwrapped in trying to find out the solution as much as James, and as tripped out as James was during some of the scenes of extreme oddity and taut suspense. But finding the solution to big questions like this is the problem. There really is no answer that is going to be satisfying. And if there is a part of the film that left me cold, it was the way Broadcast Signal Intrusion wraps things up. While the answers are left unattended to, for the most part, we do get a snippet of what James' fate is to be. So in some way, it wraps up the story in a way that couldn't be any different, given the fate others who attempted to solve the riddle succumbed to. Still, the ending is vague and abrupt, and bound to piss off some viewers needing more of a concrete conclusion. Broadcast Signal Intrusion makes for a solid mystery, incorporating intriguing elements alluding to real-life occurrences. Harry Shum Jr. is a solid actor and a strong lead for this thriller. Joined by some talented co-stars like This Is Us's Chris Sullivan as a man with key information, The Walking Dead's Kelly Mack as the Watson to James's Holmes, and a harrowing torture scene featuring Justified's Justin Welborn. While the mystery isn't exactly solved per se, it does wrap up with a good solid mind-rogering. But the videos James is studying are the stuff of nightmares, as are some of the horrors James discovers on his descent into insanity. making this ultimate trip into ambiguity filled with horrifying imagery and noises that are bound to inspire a night terror or two. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Be sure to hit all of the pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.